Shalom Aleichem. Mishnah Yomi is continuing in chapter 2 of Megillah. Now, chapter 2, we're back to the technical requirements of writing and reading the Megillah. We are holding in Mishnah Dalet, Mishnah 4. Hakol kesherin likrot et ha-Megillah. Any person is kosher to read the Megillah on behalf of others, chutz, except mecherish, shote, v'koton. A cherish is someone who's deaf. Sometimes they explain deaf and mute. In this context, it's even someone who's just deaf, even if they could talk, because they can't actually hear the words they're saying. And a shote is somebody who is legally insane. V'koton is a minor. The Barnura here points out that Hakol Kesherin includes women. Women can read the Megillah. In the Gemara, they have a discussion that perhaps it's not completely appropriate to have a woman read in front of everybody, in front of the men. Also, it might be a little disrespectful since reading the Megillah is compared to reading the Torah, but certainly a woman could read for other women. There's a discussion in the poskim and the legal authorities about that. And the Mishnah continues, Rabbi Yehuda machshir bekoton. Rabbi Yehuda allows a koton if the koton is old enough to be rabbinically obligated to be trained in mitzvot. He could read the Megillah too. Mishnah continues, Ein kornet Megillah, v'lo molin. We don't read a Megillah. We don't do milah. V'lo tovlin. We don't dip in a mikveh to become pure. V'lo mazin. We don't do mazeh, is to sprinkle the waters of the para aduma, the red heifer. Sprinkling those waters is one of the steps to achieve purity from being impure from contact with a dead body or a cemetery. V'chen shomeret yom keneged yom lo titbol. And also, this refers to a woman who saw blood not at the normal time it was expected to see for being a nida, so she's a potential zava. So she keeps one clean day, then goes to the mikveh. Ad hanetz chachama. Ad hanetz chachama. All of these requirements, all of these halachic items have to be done at daytime, not just daytime, but netz chachama is the rising of the sun. V'chulan, but all of these different requirements, she'asa misha'ala mudashacher, kosher. But if you did any of these after, so Allah shachar, or amud shachar, is sort of what we call the crack of dawn, where there's light coming over the horizon, even though the sun itself is not yet over the horizon. So if you did it at that time, it's still kosher. What's going on here is amud shachar, the first crack of dawn, it's halachically day. It's technically day, but oftentimes it's hard to tell if it's still nighttime, if it's still day. There's sort of a gray area. So our sages in ancient times said, really, if something has to be done during the day, you should wait until netz chachama, what we usually call netz. And that way there's no confusion. You don't end up accidentally doing a daytime mitzvah when it was still technically nighttime. Now, Mishnah Hay is going to continue with timing issues for Megillah and other mitzvot. Kol hayom kosher, the entire day is fit. L'kriyat ha-Megillah, to read the Megillah. L'kriyat ha-Hallel, to recite Hallel, as we do in festivals in Rosh Chodesh. L'tkiyat shofar, to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, even if someone had missed shul, missed musaf on Rosh Hashanah, and they were, coming in just before sunset, they could still fulfill their obligation to hear shofar. And tilat lulav, for taking and shaking the lulav on Sukkot, as we described there. Litfilat hamusafin, for the tfilat musaf. Now, the musaf is the additional prayer done on Rosh Chodesh, on festivals, on holidays. Typically, the custom is to do it right after the morning prayer service, but if somebody had to delay for some reason, someone was driving an ambulance for Hatzalah, he had to do it later, he could do it all day long. Le musafin. Musafin is the additional offerings themselves done in the temple for the holidays. Le vidui haparim, for the confession on the bowl. That's the special bowl of the Kohen Gadol, which we've actually referenced before. In the one of the Ein Bains, we talked about the Kohen Gadol who was Meshuach, who was anointed to become Kohen Gadol. He was eligible to bring a par, a special sin offering of a bull, if he had done a mistake. The Vidui Meiser is what they call it, the confession over bringing your Meiser, but really it's a whole statement. Check out chapter 6 of Devarim, of Deuteronomy. It's a statement someone makes that they've properly separated all the tithes. Uvidui Yom Kippurim, this is the confession of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Smicha is leaning on the offering. For certain offerings, such as a chatas, the owner of the chatas, the sin offering, leans his hands on the animal and confesses before they do the shechita of the animal in the temple. Lishchita, that's the ritual slaughter of the offering. Litznufa, that's waving. Certain offerings require waving. Lihagosha is bringing close. This refers to bringing the offering or the basket with the mincha to the altar, to the mizbeach. Likmitza. Kmitza is an activity the Kohanim do to scoop out with their fingers a little part of a mincha, a meal offering, to be burned before the rest gets baked into bread. Lehaktorah. Haktorah here is burning that kmitza, that scoop out of the mincha offering. Limelika. Melika is a special way to slaughter birds that are a sacrificial offering, only done in the temple. It's done with a thumbnail of a kohen instead of with a knife. It's only done in the temple, doesn't work anywhere else. Likabola, lechazaya, for catching the blood of a sacrificial offering. Hazaya is sprinkling the blood on the altar. Lahashkoyat sota, that's giving a drink of water to a sota. Now, that's not because she's thirsty. It's because she was warned not to be alone with a different man she was not married to, and she was alone. And now the ritual of sota, we're going to talk about in detail in Masechet Sota, is to clarify if she's guilty of adultery or innocent of adultery. And there is an elaborate ritual done in the temple to test this woman, which involves her drinking a potion. And that, too, is only done during the daytime. Mishnah continues, Arifat ha'egla, the beheading of a calf. This refers to another concept in Jewish law we're going to learn about in Masechet Sota. If there is an unsolved murder, a murder mystery, and no one can find who did it, there is an elaborate ritual involving measuring and the elders coming out and confessing and decapitating a calf at the site of the at a valley near the site of the murder. And so that's the egla. Also, one of the practical reasons, I've seen Mefarshim say, one of the practical reasons, if you have this, the whole community gets together and there's a whole discussion about the murder, then if somebody saw someone, you might be able to catch the perpetrator if you get the whole community involved in this ritual about an unsolved murder. And finally, the Taharat HaMitzorah, for the purifying ritual of a Mitzorah, someone who was afflicted with Tzarat. And that's described in Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 13. Yashar Kochachem and Zai Gesund.